I woke up with a pounding headache and a gold band strangling my finger like a joke gone too far. The stranger next to me wasn't just gorgeous, was wearing the same ring. "Tell me we didn't," I croaked. But his crooked smile confirmed every bad decision tequila ever encouraged. His name was Ethan. "A lawyer," he said casually, like it wasn't insane that we were legally bound after 4 hours of knowing each other. The crazy part? I believed him. Something about the way he looked at me, equal parts amusement and something softer, something I wasn't ready to name, made me think maybe this wasn't a total disaster. Maybe. But New York doesn't forgive fairy tales. Not even messy ones like this. By noon, I discovered the truth. Ethan wasn't just any lawyer. He was the golden boy son of Victor Harrington, the Wall Street tycoon whose name could make senators tremble. And me? I was no one. A broke bartender with student loans, a dysfunctional family, and a knack for running from real commitment. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a drunken mistake. It was about surviving in a world that wasn't mine, about pretending I belonged next to a man who had everything when all I had was him. The first night we met was supposed to be a blur, just another after-shift drink at a crowded Manhattan bar. I'd been serving cocktails to suits all evening, plastering on a smile I didn't feel. Ethan had slipped in quietly. No entourage, no arrogance, just a man with tired eyes who ordered whiskey neat and tipped me with a smile instead of cash at first. "You look like you hate this job," he'd said, watching me juggle orders. "And you look like you love pointing out the obvious." I shot back. That earned a laugh, one that cracked through my armor. Maybe that's why, when he suggested another drink after closing, I didn't say no. Maybe that's why, hours later, standing under the neon haze of Times Square, I kissed him first. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. Just rebellion, just the city swallowing us whole. But then came the chapel. The officiant. The rings. His hands on mine trembling as much as mine did. And suddenly nothing about it felt like a joke. By morning, reality crashed hard. "You're not freaking out enough?" I told him as I tried to pull the ring off. "I am," Ethan replied, though his steady gaze betrayed him. "I'm just good at hiding it. Comes with the job." "The job? I'm a lawyer. Defense, mostly." He stretched like a man who hadn't just detonated both our lives. "A lawyer who marries strangers in Vegas-style chapels in Manhattan? Everyone has vices." I wanted to laugh, to scream, to run. Instead, I stared at him, this man who made recklessness look poetic. Then came the phone call. His phone, not mine. He answered with a clipped tone, posture suddenly sharper. I caught fragments. Board meeting, father, firm. When he hung up, the mask dropped, but not fast enough. "Who was that?" I asked. "My father." A beat. "Victor Harrington." I blinked. "As in, Harrington Capital? Wall Street Harrington." "Yeah." He said it like it was a curse, not a crown. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. Not because of his last name, but because part of me already cared. The days that followed blurred into a whirlwind I couldn't control. Paparazzi didn't sniff us out yet, but I could feel the weight of his world pressing in. Ethan was pulled into meetings, dinners, obligations. And me? I lingered in the background, his accidental husband, trying to convince myself this was temporary. But late at night, when it was just us, he let me see him. The boy under the billion-dollar shadow. The man who hated the golden cage he lived in. He told me about law school, about the cases that haunted him, about the pressure to one day inherit an empire he wanted no part of. And I told him about my mother, the addict who loved me in broken ways. About the brother I hadn't spoken to in years. About the loneliness of bartending in a city where dreams went to die. We were two messes colliding, and somehow it felt like home. Still, shadows loomed. His father found out, of course. Men like Victor Harrington always found out. When I first met him, I understood power wasn't about money, it was about presence. He shook my hand like he was taking something from me. His smile was sharp enough to cut. "You married my son after a drunken night?" he said, voice silk and steel. "Yes, sir." My voice didn't crack, though my knees wanted to. "You'll annul it." I glanced at Ethan. He didn't flinch. "No, we won't." And that's when the war began. That was just the beginning. The world thought we were a scandal. His father thought I was a parasite. And Ethan thought maybe, just maybe, we were fate. But fate has sharp teeth. And loving him meant learning how deep those teeth could cut. Victor Harrington's threat didn't echo in my ears. It detonated. Ethan's hand tightened around mine like he could anchor me through the storm. But the truth was already spreading inside me like poison. I was a bartender. A no one. The son of a man who abandoned us. The brother of someone who wouldn't return my calls. And this billionaire, this titan, was telling me to disappear. The silence stretched like wire ready to snap. Finally, Ethan spoke. "We're not annulling it." His voice was low, even controlled, the way only a lawyer could manage under fire. Victor's gaze flicked to him, and I saw the disappointment, sharp and unmistakable, cut deeper than rage ever could. "You've always had a taste for reckless choices. But this? Marrying a stranger in the gutter." The insult was aimed at me, but I refused to flinch. If I did, Victor won. So I lifted my chin, pretending I wasn't terrified. Ethan's jaw clenched. "You don't get to dictate my marriage." Victor leaned back in his leather chair, that Empire of Wall Street aura settling over him like a second skin. "Marriage isn't a playground, Ethan. It's leverage, power, something you clearly don't understand." The sting was there, unspoken. I wasn't leverage. I wasn't power. I was liability. Ethan's hand slipped from mine under the table, finding my knee instead. It wasn't for show. It was for me, to remind me I wasn't standing in this alone. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. That night in the penthouse Ethan called home, I paced like the floor might shatter beneath us. "You realize he's never going to let this go," I said. My voice cracked despite my best effort. Ethan loosened his tie and sank into the couch, staring at the skyline like it could give him answers. "He's fought me on everything I've ever done. Law school, my practice, even what kind of dog I bought in college." He looked at me finally, his eyes raw. "The difference is, I never cared this much before." Something in me ached at that, because he wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for us. "Ethan." I sat beside him, close enough our shoulders brushed. "Your world and mine, they don't mix. Your father's right about one thing. I don't belong there. You belong with me." His reply was immediate, fierce, and I hated how much I wanted to believe him. The days turned into a battlefield. Victor's lawyers drafted annulment papers. His assistants left veiled threats in Ethan's inbox. And everywhere we went, I felt the weight of eyes watching, waiting for me to crack. But it wasn't just Victor. My own demons started clawing back. My brother, Daniel, showed up at my door in Queens one night, high and shaking, muttering about money he owed to the wrong people. I hadn't seen him in months, not since he disappeared with what little savings I had. Seeing him there, broken and desperate, ripped something open in me. "I just need a little help," he begged. I should have slammed the door. I should have protected myself. But old wounds bleed fast, and family, no matter how fractured, was still family. Ethan found me afterward, staring at an empty wallet. "You gave it to him," he said softly, not as a question. "He's my brother. He's using you." "I know." The words burned. Ethan stepped closer, frustration and tenderness fighting in his face. "You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved." "And what about me?" I snapped. "Did you ever think maybe I don't want to be saved either?" The silence after that was a cliff. Ethan looked at me like he could see every broken part one tried to bury. And instead of pulling away, he reached out, cupped the back of my neck, and kissed me like it was the only answer left. It wasn't easy after that. Some nights, Ethan came home late, his suit smelling like courtroom battles and his shoulders sagging with the weight of his father's empire. Some nights, I stayed up waiting, half terrified he wouldn't walk through that door. Other nights, he held me so close I could feel the cracks in him. The way his laughter was too rare, the way he kissed like he was starving. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Until Victor made his next move. The headline hit like a sucker punch. Harrington heirs, scandalous marriage threatens firm's reputation. Photos of me leaving work at the bar, meeting Daniel in the alley, even holding Ethan's hand in public splashed across tabloids like I was the downfall of a dynasty. My phone lit up with messages, some cruel, some pitying. The whispers in the street followed me like shadows. But the worst part was watching Ethan's face when he saw it. The way his fists tightened. The way his jaw locked. "I'll handle it," he said. "No," I whispered. This is my mess. I can't drag you down with me. You think you're dragging me down? He laughed, bitter and sharp. You're the only thing holding me up. And just like that, I realized the truth. We weren't surviving despite each other. We were surviving because of each other. Victor, of course, escalated. He cornered me one night after a charity gala Ethan forced himself to attend. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and money. But when Victor leaned close, his words were venom. Do you love him? He asked, too quiet for anyone else to hear. Yes, I said before I could stop myself. Then leave him. The cruelty of it stole my breath. What? He deserves someone who won't ruin him. Someone who won't bring his name into the mud. If you love him, you'll walk away. It was manipulation, I knew that. But the seed of doubt it planted grew fast. Because wasn't he right? Ethan deserved more than me. More than the bartender with a broken family and nothing to his name. That night, lying beside Ethan in the dark, I stared at the ceiling and wondered if love was enough. He stirred, sensing my storm even in sleep, and murmured, "Don't go," and I broke all over again. But leaving wasn't the answer. Fighting was. If Victor wanted a war, he'd get one. And the first battle wasn't against him. It was against myself. Against the belief that I wasn't enough. Against the voice that whispered I didn't deserve Ethan's love. Ethan saw it too. One night, as we stood on the balcony overlooking Manhattan, he pressed his forehead to mine. "They can't touch us if we don't let them," he whispered. And for the first time I believed him. We began to fight back, not with money, not with power, but with honesty. Ethan gave interviews where he refused to hide me, where he spoke about choice, about love. I went back to school part-time, determined not to be the failure Victor painted me as. And slowly, painfully, the narrative began to shift. Not enough to silence the tabloids. Not enough to soften Victor's glare. But enough to remind us. This was our story, not his. And it was only just beginning. Victor didn't attack like a man swinging fists. He attacked like Wall Street. Precise, ruthless, invisible until the wreckage was already done. The first blow came when Ethan's law firm suspended him, citing conflict of interest and public scrutiny. Translation. His father's money had pulled strings tighter than any contract could hold. Ethan came home that night with his tie loose, his eyes shadowed, and his voice shaking in a way I'd never heard before. "They're benching me," he said. I blinked. "For how long?" "Indefinitely." He tossed a folder onto the coffee table. "They want me to step down from my caseload. Clients are requesting reassignment. They think I'm compromised." The word stung. "Because of me. Because of him." Ethan snapped, his jaw tight. "Don't you dare take the blame for this." But I did. Every fiber of me did. Because wasn't it true? I was the variable. I was the scandal. If Ethan had never walked into my bar, he'd still have everything. And now he had meant nothing else. The second blow was more personal. Daniel. He disappeared again, as he always did. But not before leaving me a voicemail that chilled my blood. "You're in deep, bro. These guys, they know about Ethan. About the money. If you don't cover me, they'll come after both of you." I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Wanted to scream until my lungs gave out. Because no matter how hard I tried to claw my way out of the past, my brother always found a way to drag me back under. Ethan found me sitting in the dark, listening to that message on repeat. "Tell me what it said," he demanded. I shook my head. "It doesn't matter." "Yes, it does. It's my mess, Ethan, not yours." He knelt in front of me, hands gripping my knees, forcing me to meet his gaze. "You don't get to decide what's mine and what's not. We're in this together, remember? Together." The word tasted foreign on my tongue, like something fragile I wasn't sure I could keep. The third blow wasn't subtle at all. It was a dinner invitation. Victor summoned us to the Harrington Estatia mansion, so sprawling it felt more like a fortress, under the guise of family reconciliation. Ethan wanted to decline. I wanted to accept. Maybe some desperate part of me still believed if I proved myself, if I looked Victor Harrington in the eye and didn't flinch, he'd see me as more than a liability. So we went. The dining room was cavernous. The kind of place where voices echoed and chandeliers glittered like judgment. Victor sat at the head of the table, flanked by board members and family friends. all of them looking at me like I was a stray dog who'd wandered in from the street. "Thank you for joining us," Victor said, his smile thin. "I thought it time we discussed the future." The future. The word carried weight, finality. Over dinner, he dismantled me piece by piece, all with that same smooth tone. He asked about my education, unfinished. My career, bartender. My family, broken. Every answer was another nail in the coffin of his approval. Finally, he leaned back, glass of wine in hand, and said the words that hollowed me out. "You'll destroy him." The room went silent. Ethan stiffened beside me, but Victor wasn't done. My son was destined for greatness, for legacy, and now, he's wasting it on you. He tilted his head. "Do you love him?" "Yes." My voice shook, but the truth burned hot in my chest. "More than anything." "Then prove it." He set the glass down with a click. "Leave him. Tonight." Ethan slammed his fist against the table, silverware rattling. "That's enough." But I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Because for the first time I wondered if Victor was right. Love wasn't supposed to ruin someone. It was supposed to save them. And what if all I was doing was dragging Ethan down? That night, back in our apartment, the storm finally broke. "I can't do this to you," I whispered, tears burning my eyes. Ethan turned to me, disbelieving. "What are you talking about?" "Your job, your reputation, your family. Everything you've built, it's falling apart because of me." "Because of him?" Ethan corrected again, voice fierce. But I shook my head. "No, because of me. Because you chose me. And maybe that was the mistake." The silence that followed was brutal. Ethan's chest rose and fell, his jaw clenched, his eyes glistening. "Don't you dare," he whispered. "Ethan, don't you dare walk away from me because of him. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need you." His voice cracked, and in that moment, the lawyer, the fighter, the air, all of it fell away. He was just a man begging not to be left. My heart split clean in two, because I loved him more than I'd ever loved anyone. And maybe that was the problem. I turned toward the window, toward the storm outside. What if love isn't enough? Behind me, Ethan's voice broke. "Then what the hell have we been fighting for?" We didn't touch that night. We lay on opposite sides of the bed, the distance between us wider than any mansion, any boardroom, any empire. And for the first time since that drunken night we said "I do," I wondered if this was the end. But endings, I realized, don't always come with silence. Sometimes they come with war. And Victor Harrington wasn't finished with us yet. The next morning, Ethan was gone before I woke. A note on the counter, "Trust me." Those words haunted me all day. Trust him with what? With his father? With the firm? With us? Hours later, the news broke. Ethan Harrington had filed a lawsuit against his own father, accusing him of undue interference, manipulation, and breach of ethics within the firm. It was a bombshell, one that shook Wall Street to its core. And suddenly, our love story wasn't just personal. It was public. We weren't just fighting for us anymore. We were fighting against an empire. And the world was watching. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.